Welcome in to On the Clock NFL Draft Show, part of the T2T Podcast Network. It is, well, when this show airs, it'll be August 3rd. So I did the math in my head briefly. But welcome to August. Welcome to football season. All of you who've been with us throughout the offseason, thank you. And I know you're just as excited as we are. And all of you who are just coming in, because football season's right around the corner and it's time to come back, welcome. We are here for you, and we will be here with you all evening. And here with me this evening, my guy, Mr. Nino Brown at @NinoBrown_T2T on the Twitter. Nino, what's cooking?
I'm excited for this. Second part of the ACC, right? I get to talk a little bit about my BC Eagles, briefly and touch on it. But it's been an interesting week so far between all football, college news, everything going on. I just, finished up CFB Prime, and me and KT were talking about Hunter Decker's kind of just getting bopped for 26, counts of betting on his own team and stuff. So he's probably going to be losing all of his eligibility for Iowa State. Yeah, QB.
The betting on his own team, though. How did they prove that?
They got it so that I don't know. They pinpointed to the fact that he betted on the team when they faced Oklahoma State, and he was the backup that game.
Okay.
So it's not looking good. But everything that I'm seeing, the total amount was for $2,700. Like you threw it all away for $2,700.
That's like hobby betting. Like
fun.
Like
why though? Why do it?
Like why that? Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty soon. Less than 25 days, we won't have to worry about stories like this. We'll be able to talk about real football and, prospects that could possibly get drafted, to the NFL.
Well, speaking of prospects, one prospect is probably going to get an opportunity because of his suspension. That's usually how it goes. Like people only mourn you.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but that's the way the game is. Like you slip, you make a mistake, you have a chance to redeem yourself and come back, but it might not be with the team you're currently on.
Right.
Or you might need to battle back and earn your job back because somebody's out there taking it. But Nino mentioned it. Tonight we're talking ACC Atlantic division. So last week we talked ACC Coastal Division. We've talked SEC, Big 12, Big 10. So we're going through the Power 5 teams here, and we are ranking the top 5 teams in each of these conferences. In the ACC, we split it up twice. So we really rank like the top 10 teams, but we're ranking them based upon top tier talent, teams with the most day 1 and day 2 prospects as of now. Because obviously people are going to emerge. So we want to give you some names to know heading into the 2023 college football season and the 2024 NFL draft cycle. And I do want to let you know, toiletstitles.com, we decided we're going to start our player profiles early. So last year, if you're familiar with the website, we had a big board. We were writing all our player profiles. I believe we had over 100 by the time the NFL draft rolled around. So we're not going to start with a big board. We're going to start with just releasing. We're going to write a few player profiles, and probably within a month or two, once we get to about 15 to 25, and as the season starts, then we'll start to develop a big board. But, check out toiletstitles.com. Check us out on the Twitter at Toilets and Titles. You'll be able to see all those player profiles because we're diving into them on this show. We dive into them a little more in depth when we write them up. But you know what helps me dive into these prospects, man? Jitterless energy drinks. And I know you know a little bit about Jitterless energy drinks. So tell everybody about it.
Well, as led into by my buddy, you can go over to the toiletsandtitles.com and click on that W link, right? And type in Title Tribe in the code for a discount on, like he said, Jitterless energy, clean energy. And this is a nice, like you can go to your local store and get Red Bull, whatever it may be, Ghost, whatever. But you can get a whole tub at your house where you can make it whenever you'd like with great flavors such as Cali Oat Cream, which happens to be just my favorite. You like a creamsicle? That's one for you. So head over to the website, click that link. And if you like we said, Jitterless energy, clean energy, get yourself some W.
Man, I've seen people take like powders, like when I was in college, dude, right in the mouth with a little bit of water. So, I'm not trying to be like too much selling a product here, but this type of product or any energy drink, but W we would prefer. If you're a fan of like USC, Stanford, and you're like me and Nino, and you live on the East Coast, and they don't start till 10 o'clock on like a Thursday night, you've been working all day, hit yourself with some W energy, man. So, all right. So, and also subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. So let's dive into, so as always, we start with a school that we believe belongs in the list, but doesn't have the biggest list of players. So we got Boston College, where you are from, Nino, right up there in the Northeast, a few hours north of me. Christian Mahogany, offensive guard, 6'3", 335 pounds. He lost the 2022 season due to an ACL injury, and you think he's a potential first-round draft pick. So I haven't seen much Christian Mahogany. So tell me about him.
Listen, I'm going to go and say he's top 25 in that class, okay? 21 stats going back before the ACL injury. He had 706 snaps. Only allowed one penalty on him, okay? Only allowed one sack and 7 total pressures. He had an 83.7 PFF pass pro grade, right? And he's not a one-trick pony because at 82.4%, 82.4 PFF grade for run blocking, all right? Got 28-inch vertical for a guy at 6'3", 335, right? 4.87 shuttle. When he gets around, he's agile, he's athletic. He can get to the second level as a run blocker. He's still got the coordination. He's got balance, and he loves to hit the moving target. You get in front of him, he's coming for you like it's duck hunt. Boom. All right. He dominates in pass protection. He has long arms and heavy hands. He's using them effectively in the pass pro to set up a nice little clean pocket for his QB. All right. He's got a wide base, digs them feet in. Good luck. And he got that strong grip, a.k.a. Gorilla Glue, when it comes to manhandling opponents on the line.
I like it, man. Nothing like Boston College. I know they're not Notre Dame level of offensive linemen, but I'll take.
If there's a tradition, they put multiple NFL guys.
Well, I'm saying they're like Notre Dame is
right. That's O-line U.
But I did put them in the same conversation.
That's cool.
As Notre Dame.
I'm with it.
So give me a Boston College offensive lineman in Mahogany. Like that's a great last name. I would enjoy saying that on Sundays.
They just did an interview at ACC with him, and they were talking about like all the buzz around him and everything, what it means to be at BC and with NIL, and he was like, the money don't matter. Don't matter what school, SEC, don't matter what bag. I'm here. The tradition here, what we got building, it's special, and he wants to be a part of it to the end. I'm all in, but top 25.
Where do you have this is probably something for CFB Nation and CFB Prime, but I know you were saying where do you have Boston College finishing in the ACC this season?
I got them going bowl eligibility. So I got them at least 6. I think they win 7. I probably got them tied for like 6 overall. Like between both divisions.
Let's see it. All right, let's move on to Syracuse, which is a little closer to me than it is to you. All right, we got Aranda Gotts in the second, wide receiver, tight end, 6'5". We got a few wide receivers in this list that are just mammoths. 6'5", 216 pounds. Cuse Orangeman playing games, wide receiver in 2022. Now he's a tight end in 2023, which is very interesting to me. Ran a 4.5 40-yard dasher. That's what's projected. So Aranda Gadsden Jr., tell me about him.
All right. Well, obviously the pedigree's there. His father was a wide receiver, played for Miami Dolphins many moons ago. I'm probably showing my age a little bit here. But listen, I was there for the spring game. I don't know what this whole tight end thing is all about. The dude didn't line up on the line. Like, he didn't line on in line. He had like 9 snaps in line all year last year.
216 is thin for a 6'5" gentleman.
This guy lines out wide. He was out wide most of the spring game. He was out wide for 75% of his snaps last year. Is it a game they're playing? I don't know. But like he'd have to put on at least 20 pounds for me to feel comfortable with him being a tight end and being online. Now at a wide receiver, I'm in. Okay. 13 games last year, 80 targets, 61 receptions, 969 yards, 6 touchdowns, damn near 16 yards per catch. The dude only had 2 drops, right? He's a contested catch king. He had 10 out of the 18 opportunities. At 6'5", 216, you can go up there and get it with no problem. But he also got yards after catch, 221 yards after catch. He had a PFF grade of 85.5, okay? Like, when QBs targeted him, like, it was over 114, right? He's a competitive player with strong hands, and he demonstrates natural sense of timing when it comes to high pointing the ball. Like, he gets it, and he got that late. I say people got late hands. They can catch the ball right last second. He got that late. He'll wait a little bit because he knows he got the height. Go up and get it. And kind of like Mossy, you know what I mean? His transitions upfield. Oh, phenomenal when it comes to catch and run situations. Tall, big frame, huge catch radius. Give me some Gatson.
Yeah, man. Guys who have the late hands, especially if the DB's trailing them, That helps because the
Yeah.
DBs keen your hands and your eyes to watch for the football if they're not watching the quarterback and they don't see it. So those late hands, that's the difference between a PBU and a catch, every now and then when the DB is close enough to you. So I like that. I'm looking forward to seeing this guy. Now FSU. This is where
real
the
quick,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you want to throw something out there like to make saying like when I say he's got that late timing? Guy who's been really kind of in the news lately for Tennessee Titans, that would be DeAndre Hopkins. He's got that late timing. He had multiple times he's won games and the halves, like just waiting it out and then going up at the right time and scooping it. So that's what he has that good timing for his height.
Right. And that's like the back shoulder, even Devontae Adams.
Yes.
Like those back shoulder routes, like you don't know when what I saw, I saw Odell Beckham run a back shoulder stop and like he faked the back shoulder. And I don't know if I've seen that route. So that was an interesting route to watch. So now we've been, wide receivers have been really hammering the back shoulder probably for like the last 8 years. Now this year, watch out for that back shoulder and go, which is something. If you're on Twitter watching all these plays from mini camps, I thought that was very interesting. But back to college.
Let's
Florida
go.
State University. You're wearing their t-shirt. So Jaheim Bell, tight end from South Carolina to Florida State University, 6'3", 230 pounds, dual threat tight end. All right. Played two years at South Carolina. In 2022, he lined up 45 times as an inline tight end, 140 times in the backfield, 90 times as a slot receiver, and 30 times out wide as a wide receiver. So that to me sounds like a Tennessee Titan, because the Tennessee Titans, like you, right? Like I don't know any team in the NFL, or maybe like not even Chris Cooley when he was with Washington. So I don't even know anybody else who uses their tight ends like this. But at this guy's size, when I saw those numbers, it was very interesting to me. But he had 80 carries, 301 yards. It was only 3.8 yards per carry. So it's not like the dude breaking big runs, but maybe he's a red zone guy. 56 receptions, 757 yards, 13.5 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns. I read this stat, which was very interesting. Per PFF, only Georgia's Brock Bowers has a higher receiving grade for tight end. So that says something. He had 24 forced missed tackles, and that was tied for the most among all returning tight ends. And he believed he was being, even though he got, they were using him at running back, they were using him outside at tight end, and got a decent bit of touches. He still believed he was being underutilized to South Carolina, transferred to FSU, and he was ranked number 1 tight end in the transfer portal when FSU got him. So tell me your thoughts on Jaheim Bell.
Listen, I like Bell a lot. I think in my eyes, he was a tight end that I thought was going to break out a little more last year. I like him better than guys like Michael Trigg. Who was the other gentleman on that team? Cade Perkinson on Ole Miss. I like better than them. Both of those guys are ranked pretty high this year. I got him right around the Bryson Nesbitt ranking because I like Nesbitt coming out of UNC. Bell, I call him a Swiss Army knife. He can do everything. He can play in line. He can stay home and block. He's good in pass pro. Got great hands. He's kind of like a bigger Curtis Samuel, right? Because Curtis Samuel can line up everywhere on the field, can line up in the backfield, can line up in the slot, can line out wide. Bell can do all of that. But he's great at being a traditional tight end and staying home and blocking. So I want to see with a team that's got all the weapons and he can be the frosting on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how he's used this year because there's a good chance that it's possible he's tight end 2 coming off the board.
And he's going to look small at tight end compared to the wide receivers FSU's got on that roster. He's 6'3", right? So this guy's 6'3", 230 pounds. Johnny Wilson coming in at 6'7", 235 pounds. I've seen anywhere people projecting 4'3" to 4'5". I would be super shocked if he ran in the 4'3s. If he runs in the 4'3s, that's like DK Metcalf, like linear, like downfield, vertical threat. Excuse me. I expect somewhere in about the 4'5s. Massive human being. I was surprised with how well he broke. His body control in and out of his breaks for a guy his size. I was expecting it to be a lot more. I'm not saying he's elite, but I was expecting, due to his size, it to be like, reading a whole chapter, watching this guy like go into his route, go break and then go. So I was impressed. Sometimes he struggles getting to top speed off the line of scrimmage, but overall, for a guy his size, I believe it can transition because I've kind of been, by watching big receivers over the last like 8 to 10 years, bigger guys who can't separate or have had trouble make it in the NFL. You got to be able to separate in the NFL unless you have one elite trait outside of that. And I'm not sure if he does, but he's good enough in the other things. He led the ACC and ranked third in the country with 22 20-yard receptions and was second in the conference and fifth nationally with an average of 20.86 yards per catch. So pretty legit, big numbers, good quarterback this season. So what are your thoughts on Johnny Wilson?
I think he took a step last season. Okay, made his name for himself. Kind of had like a little bit of a Jalen Hyatt type year. A lot of big plays down the field. Listen, my thing is, okay, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer, so I'm gonna start off on a positive note, right? He got yards after the catch, 250 yards after the catch. He was 50% on his contested catches for a guy 6'7". I'd like to say a little bit better, but I'll take 11 out of 22 because that doesn't mean that every contested ball was catchable. Okay.
That puts like 50-50 ball, like that's
legitimate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like in I said to you 6'7", Lurch. He's Lurch for the Seminoles.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis, you rang. I'll go get you the ball. But my thing is, he's got a drops problem. Okay, there was, especially in that LSU game, that drop was crucial. 12.5% drop rate. He had 5 catches, drop catches last season. 3 of those were kind of like in key times. But where was Johnny Wilson for the first 2 years at Arizona State? Why did it all of a sudden take, 3 years for him to just emerge, right? Like Arizona State's not no chump school. They got a good football program over there. So I want to see it again. I want to see it now. Let's see. Johnny, you big play, capability. He just lacked a little bit of that twitch. He's not really a twitchy receiver coming off the line. But I do like what he's got his catch and run. He's definitely a catch and run playmaker. Get in space. He's good. He got good vision. He's not, 1080, P or 4K vision, but he got some vision. It's high quality. And he doesn't, obviously it's 6'7". You ain't getting overwhelmed by any defensive back. You're going to, handle yourself. But I just want to see now when you're not the alpha. Okay. Right. When you got to be on the side of the next gentleman we're going to talk to who's coming in from Michigan State. Are you okay with that? Can you thrive? Are you better because you're playing against DB2, right? Or are you going to sit there and pout like, Butte and say, okay, I'm not the guy no more. I'm not going to try. Guys happen. It happens. I think he's got potential. I don't see him as a top 6 receiver in this class. I know he's been circling around a lot as being that. I also didn't have Jalen Hyatt as a top 6 wide receiver in the class. Wilson has more height. Hyatt had more speed, but I think their game translates to the way they, the scheme and what they play on the field.
I mean, you look at Quentin Johnson, and I'm not saying
he's way twitchier,
but like people were still nervous, about him. If he almost fell out of the first round, I don't think Johnny Wilson's a mid-second rounder.
I'm with you. there.
There was questions about Johnson, and Johnson, I think he's got better traits.
I agree. I think Johnson's got better traits. He's got better take over the game capability. He's definitely got that twitch factor.
He in camp, him and Herbert are connecting, man. And I might eat my words a little bit because I was a little harsh on him throughout the process, but it's the way it goes, man.
He still had the drop ball problems, yo. Right. I've been hearing it still in camp that he's still. So we'll see. I hope he gets the best, but
yeah. And when he's got, who's he going to be facing? Keenan and Mike Williams, they're going to be taking and also Kellen Moore. Regardless of what you think about him, he's decent at scheming up an offense and getting his wide receivers open. So he's probably going to be highlight after highlight. I'm sure he's going to have his drops, but he's going to have an opportunity to just make big play, big play, big play.
The problem with that is if the drops come early, Josh Palmer could eat into that time.
Right.
And then now that could mess with the psyche of a rookie. You lose time to an event that's been there.
But then on the other side of that, Josh Palmer could be playing anyway.
Because Mike Williams
Keenan Allen can't stay on the field. So, all right, well, let's get back. So I wanted to mention also that he had an 82.3 wide receiver grade per PFF, which is the 7th highest among returning wide receivers. So you got to keep that. All right, Jared Verse. From here out, I'm interested in Wilson. I'm interested in Bell. But I think for the rest of the show, these are all guys that very interesting to me.
Oh, yeah.
Jared Verse, defensive end, edge, 6'4", 260 pounds, came out of Albany, transferred to FSU. So Albany's about an hour and a half from me. So he was out there 2021, he was FCS freshman All-American after registering 53 tackles, 11.5 for loss, 10.5 sacks, 13 quarterback hurries. 2022, first team All-American per The Athletic. So he's a freshman All-American in the FCS. Transfers to FSU, does not take a step back, takes a step forward, crushes it.
Oh, yeah.
He had 12 games, 48 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries. I got a question for you at the end of this. You might have seen it already.
I'm excited.
Yes, because when I watched them, I was like, the number, I don't want to tease it too much because people listen at home, but he was the only player in the ACC and one of 2 Power 5 defenders nationally with 4 games of 2.5 tackles for loss in 2022. Explosive, good initial pop for a guy. Like, I saw him stand up. I saw him put it. So at first, a lot of what I saw from him was him standing up, and I was like, all right, can he put his hands down? Can he stop the run? Can he get into it with, because he was so quick and so explosive that he wasn't getting touched. So because he wasn't getting touched, I'm like, all right, well, is he just taking advantage of these guys because he's quicker than them? But then I saw snaps where he's putting his fingers in the dirt and he's popping offensive linemen and he's putting them on their heels, which I thought that was very impressive. And then I also said, this was one for you. He's got quick hands, very quick hands at the point of attack, like he's playing blackjack at a nickel table. All right. So all right. Acceleration, burst. I think this guy's the top 10 pick in the 2024 draft. What are your thoughts on Jared Verse?
I think Jared Verse would have been a top 3 edge rusher in this class if he was to come out the previous class. Okay. I think this kid has all the intangibles. I mean, he's a bullet off the line. Okay. He's excellent. Why the bull rush off the snap? If you ain't planted your feet unsteady, God bless you. You're going to be tripping over your feet and you're probably going to get run over. He's got tremendous explosion. He accelerates with power. It's like, it reminds me of the car that Fast and Furious that homeboy drives, in
Vin
the
Diesel?
Yeah, like that when he hits the gas,
right,
it's up in the air and I'm coming and I'm just coming to wreak havoc.
Flames coming out of the muffler.
Yeah, like he's got that like relentless blind pursuit like a damn cheetah. Like once he sees it and gets a smell, he doesn't have to see it. Once he smells the fear in you or the ball, he can smell that leather in the backfield. He's coming for blood, and he normally gets it. He's got a powerful lower body, right? He can hold up at the point of attack when it comes to a run defender. He just is instinctful. He's a top 10 pick. Yes, he's a top 10 pick. Now hit me with your question because I'm ready.
All right, coming out of school. I know we got Verse has one more year. All right, so this is a little bit of a projection. But who did you like more coming out, Kayvon Thibodeau or Jared Verse?
I'm an Oregon guy, so this one was special for me. And I actually conversated with Boomer about this one because I saw the question earlier.
You liked it?
I loved it, and it really intrigued me because I love Thibodeau, what he could do. He was a game changer for the Ducks. But he was boom or bust.
Right.
Jared Verse is no bust. It doesn't stop. The motor never stops. He doesn't over pursue. That was one thing with Thibodeau. He would get around the end, right? And sometimes get a spin move, and he would over pursue and be behind the QB and have to back it. Verse doesn't over pursue. When he sees like his angle, he's very good at angles. But when he goes out wide, he's able like to dip the shoulder, cut back, or counter inside, so that he's not out there on an island circling back to come back to QBs or running backs or whatever, someone in the screen. So for me, I'm gonna have to go Verse.
Man, I like it. I'm glad you were intrigued by that question, man. I'll work up those. For me, when I'm watching players, I usually like little things like that pop up. Like I can kind of compare somebody to somebody else. But this next guy, he's got the keys to the penthouse.
Yes.
He lives on the top floor. He plays the game on the top floor, and he is just constantly denying access to defensive backs. And that's Keon Coleman, wide receiver, 6'4", 215 pounds, transferred from Michigan State, was the number 2 to Jaden Reed.
Yep.
58 receptions, 798 yards, 7 touchdowns. Played basketball. He didn't play his second year at Michigan State. I think he agreed to, just focus strictly on football. But the fact that he was even considering playing collegiate basketball and collegiate football is pretty damn impressive. And you could see it in his build. His lower, like his legs, like you could tell he is explosive. Like this dude looks the part, put together very well. Love the way he tracks the ball. Love the body control, his adjustments to the football in flight. So Keon Coleman, this guy's going to be playing on Sundays. I mean, you put him on this list, so there's a good reason he's on this list because he's going to be picked day 1 or day 2. So what are your thoughts on Keon Coleman?
Keon Coleman made the best decision in the portal to go to FSU. That was a huge gain for the Seminoles. Okay, listen, you said he lives on the top floor like Mike Tyson with the White Tiger in Hangover. Okay, this is where he belongs. It's where he belongs to be. He runs it. He got great body control. Okay, his in-air adjustments, his ball tracking ability. I get a Marvin Mims-esque vibe from him. I know that's difficult to say because Mims was a 20-yard per catch guy who could just adjust like in a slinky to catch the ball. Right? He got more body control than a yoga instructor on a Sunday morning. All right, you got a 4.5 40. You can get jiggy like Will Smith when it's coming down the line. He's extremely dangerous in the open field. He shows vision. Got 4K capability. He's creative with the run through defense like a young Wolverine. He cuts him up. So I'm all in on Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman is going to have his coming out party this year for FSU.
Well, this next guy, Jordan Travis.
He had his coming out party last year.
And I'm putting money on him to win the Heisman.
It's possible.
The reason I'm going to do it, because I'm assuming the odds are good. I'm going to look it up after the show. But with all these weapons around him, and with 6'1", 201 pounds, fifth-year senior, he's going to be 24 headed into his rookie season. But what I noticed most about him was progress.
Oh, yeah.
Every year as a passer, his numbers improved steadily. And it wasn't like 1 year to the next year. It was dramatic. It was steps. Like you saw the step in progress. And then the next thing I liked about that was as he progressed as a passer, his running numbers declined. Not dramatically. He could still play, but you saw it, which means he believed in his passing ability enough to now, I will run second. I will pass first. And that shift is what makes him an NFL prospect, right? If he never had that shift, if passing was second, don't consider it. But he showed that, led the AC in passing efficiency rating in 2022 with 160.1, led the ACC in yards per attempt in 2022 with 9.1, led the AC in yards per play 8.3. So I'm saying I think he's a legitimate Heisman candidate this year. So what are your thoughts on him?
I'm with you. This is one of the gentlemen that I think could push Drake May for that number 2 spot at the QB. It's why I say that's the only spot that Caleb is the only one that's cemented. I feel like anywhere between 2 and 5 could be a handful of gentlemen. Listen, you said he's progressed up every single season in every aspect of it, right? And I say it all the time, it's my problem with Justin Fields, it's my problem with Trey Lance, it's my problem with all these guys that run first. Yes, we saw Justin Fields dominate throwing the ball in college, but when we went to the next level, his only asset that he was able to do well was his feet and run, right? So Trey Lance, he's been able to move in the pocket and get out there and gain yards, but passing the ball hasn't been the best option for him. So to be a QB, in my eyes, successfully be a QB, you have to be able to throw the ball, and that has to be the number one option first. Jordan Travis locked that in last year, and Jordan Travis planted his flag and saying, I'm here now. I get it. My progression is moving step by step. He's gone from like a 70% QB rating to over 107 last year alone. So that if that ain't progression, I don't know what is. That point that you made about him scaling back, running and only running when needed, like this kid's not a statue now. He can extend. A
lot of his throws are on the move.
Yes, that's the thing. Instead of tucking it and trying to extend plays with his feet, he's moving out to extend the play, extend the pocket, right?
Right.
And now using his arm to hit guys like Johnny Wilson downfield deep, 6'7" wide open. Now he's going to have Coleman. Now he's going to have Bell. Now he's going to have a backfield with a gentleman that is hungrier than a man that's been starving waiting for Popeye's chicken to open.
Go on. Talk about him.
This is your guy. Right?
Yeah.
This is Trey Benson. I've been waiting for him to pop. It's been a little bit. He came to Oregon. Another guy that was from Oregon didn't work out. Transferred. Florida State. Injuries came in, was kind of undersized. He ain't undersized no more. Okay. We talked, off today earlier, how he's put on close to 10, 12 pounds, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's not fat, right? He's chiseled. He looks good. Tell me what you like about Benson before I dive into what I like about Benson.
Man, so Trey Benson, we saw a before and after picture of him last year. Last year, he looked like a young man. This year, he looks like a grown man. but it's all like a lot of the muscle you could tell was in his legs.
Yes.
He's a powerhouse. 6'1", 211 pounds, 13 games, 990 yards, 6.4 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 144 yards. He had a big kickoff return touchdown, which is impressive. 1326 all-purpose yards, ranked as the 18th highest single-season total in Florida State history. Florida State has some dudes that come through. So 18, you're still on that board. I don't care where you are on that board. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tops it this season. And he winds up in the top 10, ranked first in the ACC and 13th nationally with an average of 6.4 yards per rush. He broke the PFF college single-season record by forcing basically 0.5 missed tackles per rush. So every other rush, he forced a missed tackle, which bettered the previous record of 0.48, which was just below every other carry. Man, what I like about this guy, so he runs a little tall. But for a guy who runs tall, he breaks a lot of tackles in the open field. Because when you run tall, that just creates a bigger target area, right? So now defenders, they're not just hitting you in the legs, they can hit you in the chest. It's just easier to make contact, but it's not easy to make contact when you're playing a guy who's as fast and as quick as he is. So it's a dynamic combination of power, of vertical speed, linear speed, and agility. Man, I said he's a hoarder, right? Because he navigates through clutter with ease. Like somebody who's on those TV shows on True TV, they open the door, people come in the house, where do I go? And they're like, oh, here's the path. Like this dude, he goes through the horde, the mess, very good. I think he's a bell cow. Again, it's due to the size. It's due to the ability, because rarely do you see a lot of running backs nowadays who are just as good inside the tackles as they are outside the tackles. It's usually most offenses now, they have a guy who does this and they have a guy who does that. Yeah. Unless you go to Wisconsin. They have a guy who usually does both. And I like him, man. So I think this guy's an every down back in the NFL. So what are your thoughts?
I love everything you said. I love the hoarder comment. I think that was key. Listen, to me, Benson is a mix of a Bugatti and Usain Bolt, because he can go from 0 to 60 in a blink of an eye. All right. This kid's got 4.39 speed when fully healthy. And he's a young Edward Scissorhands, the way he cuts on a dime like he's NASCAR coming through the corner, picking up with his tire. Like he has all the intangibles, but now he's healthy and he has weapons on the outside, so they can't stack boxes on him. Like this kid gets it. Had 11 receptions last year. Probably going to get a little more work in the passing game, because he's probably going to get a little more screen work, because they're going to be able to have open backfield, spread formations, because they have the talent this year. I'm all in. Mike Norvell's been doing his thing. He's built the program through the portal, through recruiting. Give us Florida State.
I love when running backs, like big running backs, not the shifty guys. Like I loved when LSU would put Darius Geis returning kicks. And that's like when I see this guy at 6'1", he's going to be probably around 220 pounds, being able to take a kickoff to the house. I love watching that.
All right, but with Geis was kind of just like a violent runner, though, when it came in the running game. This guy's got what Lob would love to say, his sweet feet coming out the hole. He's shifty, right? Like he has that ability.
I'm just saying, I like seeing big backs like
bang. Oh, big back,
but like
bang.
Get a kickoff return. Right. You usually don't give those guys, like you're putting like some little shifty guy, or like when Darren McFadden was returning kick returns from, and I'm not comparing this guy to him, but you're not going to see it at the NFL. Once he's drafted, he ain't returning kicks anymore. So I'm going to be excited whenever Florida State puts him back there, because there'll be a good chance he could bring this thing back. So
how often are you getting a guy that's 220 that runs a 4.39 40? You know what I'm saying?
No, not very often. It's like it's rare. That's why they're making the big bucks. All right, Fabian Lovett, 6'4", 318 pounds. 2022 honorable mention All ACC, absolute unit, massive. And Jim Nagy, when I was looking up Fabian Lovett, I guess he was eligible for the draft for the Senior Bowl last year, so he's going to be eligible again. So I'm sure Jim's going to be working on him. I put a star next to his name because I bet he's out there at the Senior Bowl this year. So what are your thoughts on Fabian Lovett?
All right, Fabian Lovett, like you said, 6'4", 318 pounds, right? But it's a 4.57 shuttle, which means he's got some athletic ability to him. He's agile for a big guy, right? Love to see it. Former 3-star, coming in as a recruit. Like, he gets after the ball. He puts pressure on it. He's good as a pass rusher. He tallied 6 total pressures, 6 QB hurries. He didn't get any sacks or anything like that, but like he could get to the QB. My man is a run stopper. He's got a high motor. Okay. The problem is he tends to have heavy hands, but his hands are kind of like mallets. So like if they're not upright and they're able, like someone got a good swim move, someone's able to like block well. You run up against a guy like Joe Alt, they're probably going to be able to swing your arms out the way and get to the side. And now you're sitting out there like a bob in the ocean. So that's something that he needs to kind of work on.
Right.
All right. But like he's got it. He can locate the ball. Like I like to say, he's always looking for the leather. And he doesn't really stand still. He can naturally move off. He keeps a good balance. Like I said, there are just a couple of things I would like to see him work on. I think him coming back is why he came back, because there are a few things to tweak. He tweaks those things. He's a possible early day 2 pick.
And I mean, with this roster, like you seeing those guys coming back, and this team's going to go somewhere. Florida State's going to make some noise this year. I'm on board. I'm on board after seeing this. And I know we're going to talk about Clemson next. So Clemson, they're number one with the most day 1, day 2 draftable talent. We're going to start with another younger son. So we had Ronnie Gadsden earlier. Now we got Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 6 foot, 230 pounds. I love that. It's the simple things that make me happy. Usually in college, you see guys like linebacker 1, 7, 19, 37. Like, you're seeing numbers 0, which Clemson has a linebacker wearing that. He's wearing 54. So I love seeing a college linebacker wearing a grown man's linebacker number. 2022 second team All-American honors from the Associated Press. 2022, he led team in tackles with 92, tackles for loss with 13.5, and he tied for the team lead in sacks with 6.5. It's pretty damn impressive for an off-ball linebacker. Added 6 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and interception, which he returned to the house. 678 defensive snaps over 14 games. He was only one of 3 Power 5 players in 2022 to reach at least 13 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and return an interception for a touchdown, joining 2-time Nagurski Award winner Will Anderson of Alabama and D. Winters of TCU. So those are some big names. So what are your thoughts on Jeremiah Trotter?
After you said all that and you watched the film, how did you ask me that question if Homeboy was better?
I kind of like Barrett Carter a little bit better, man.
You just like the style of play?
Yeah, and he's just such like, all right, so Trotter, those are massive numbers. Numbers don't lie. So
better numbers than Simpson.
Yeah, like those, he covers a lot of ground. I also noticed, I think he'd be good in the Tampa too, because when he drops into zone coverage, he can get back.
He had a great in coverage. QB's only had like a 44 rating against.
Right, so he's the Mike. He's going to wear the dot. Yeah. I also, what impressed me about him too was in the short area. I couldn't think of a quick thing to say with this one. I had some good ones today, but I couldn't think of anything good to say with this. But like in short areas, he just creates the impact he brings to the ball carrier. Surprises me at times. Because it's hard for me to imagine somebody generating that much force from the distance he does. Like it doesn't even look like he's coming to the ball carrier fast at times. He's closing on him, but then pop.
It's a 1-inch punch, bro.
Yeah.
1-inch punch.
But now we brought this up, so I'm just going to bring up Barrett Carter. All right, so we can compare. 6'1", 225. I just put athlete in capital letters. Called by Dabo Sweeney as one of the best pure football players he's had in 20 years. Was an All-American. Enters 2023 credited by the coaching staff with 103 career tackles, 11.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks. 2022, he joined the Buckus Award winners Nakobe Dean. And I see kind of some Nolan Smith. And I think he's a little more agile and flexible than Nolan Smith. And Nolan Smith went in the first round. So they were the recent Power 5 players to post at least 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, multiple interceptions. His coverage instincts. So there was one, I fell in love with him on this play where he's rushing the passer and a lineman goes low and he just hurdles the lineman, lands.
I had a feeling.
Gracefully. Like it was so impressive. And then to continue watching him and like you kind of were talking about Thibodeau earlier and how, when this guy rushes the passer or, he's in the backfield, like he doesn't overstep, so I like Trotter a lot. But I think just Barrett Carter, the possibilities. Now with him, he's not going to be the Mike. He's not going to be wearing the dot. But I could see him as the weak side linebacker in a nickel defense. And teams run nickel 95% of the time now. And to see him coming off the edge, but they're both great. We're comparing like two, possibly day one talents here, but break them both down for me.
So, like, I'm with you. I think, Carter's more of the boomer bust guy. He's the flashier guy, right? He gives you that LeVar Arrington type style, jumping over the front line, getting there, the pop. You got to understand, Trotter was splitting time in his position with a kid, Simpson, that went to the NFL.
Right.
Now there's nobody in his way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now he's going to be on full display. And I'm telling you, you're going to see a Deion Jones type year, Jeremiah Trotter. 100+ tackles. He's going to be a dude that's going to be everywhere. He's a guy that can drop back coverage, probably get 7 to 8 pass breakups. Like, he has all the intangibles. The pedigree is there. We know what his father was, right? He was a dude, played the same position. Yeah, like, he's got it. I think it's going to be more on display now that he's going to be taking 85, 90% of the snaps in that Mike position. I'm not saying Carter's not a bad guy. I'm not saying that he's probably a top 5 linebacker in this class, okay? And that says volumes on why I believe that game between Clemson and Florida State in the middle of the season makes a break who's going undefeated. Because if Clemson wins that game, they're undefeated the rest of the year. Florida State wins, vice versa. And that's the way I think it's going to go.
And I love how this Clemson team that we're breaking down right now is day one, day two talent. It's mostly defense.
Yes,
because
Florida State offense is super young. They got one guy, but yeah.
But as far as the matchup goes, matchup you're talking about, Florida State versus Clemson, it's perfect because now we got Makuba and we got Wiggins, right? Yes. So we got 2 other players. Makuba, 6 foot, 185 pounds. So I assume I'm pronouncing it correctly. All right. Enders 2023 credited with 104 tackles, 2.5 for loss, a sack, 13 pass breakups. In 2021, he became the first true freshman defensive back to start a season opener for Clemson since the NCAA instituted permanent freshman eligibility in 1972. That's huge. For a guy to step out there, and Clemson's not some program it's not UCF. No offense to UCF, but this is Clemson. They got a history, man. 2022 registered stats at safety and corner. So that interests me as well because I think he's primarily a safety, but the fact that they were comfortable enough to put him on the outside to cover somebody. Tackles a little high when he was a better tackler on angles. He still was coming down with the tackles, but when you go to the next level at your size, 6 foot, 185 pounds, you're going to have to go eyes through the thighs. If you go up top, you're going to get bum rushed. And he also, I believe, last year, the first play of the season for Clemson, he had an interception, which is pretty cool too. So what are your thoughts on Makuba?
Vicious. He's angry. Like you said, he plays a little high, but he's good in that single high safety role. He's good at reading QB's eyes. He tracks the ball really well. They don't target him, right? He wasn't targeted because they know if you target me, I'm going to make your day a living hell. I just love the way he handles himself. He's athletic. He's lean. He's muscular, right? He's an NFL caliber safety. Yeah. He's got it written all over him. He's got fluid. His fluid in his game, his fluidity on how he moves, like Aquafina. He's got quick feet. He can defend it. He can come down in the box if you need him to, right? He can come down defending the slot guy. He could, like I said, he could spy and play single high safety over the top. He played some snaps at DB this year. I'm a big Akuma guy. I think that he's a lot of people might say that he's safety number 1, safety number 2. I got a couple guys around. I like my guy Kitchens from Miami. Yeah. I also like Cole Bishop's out of Utah, but McCumber's probably right there 2, 3.
All right, I like it. And then this other guy, you're talking about not being targeted. Nate Wiggins was targeted. He was targeted 61 times. He only gave up 31 completions. So that's about half the time. Don't even bother throwing the ball his way. 6'2", 185 pounds, which is the prototypical size for today's NFL, especially being a Cowboys fan, Dan Quinn, back with Seattle, their teams have a type now. You long, lengthy, so 6'2", 185. As long as he's not, below 170 like Manuel Forbes was, he should be all right.
But hey, Forbes had what, 7 or 8 picks to the house? Yeah. He went in the first round, didn't he?
Washington, yeah, which is going to be interesting seeing him line up with CeeDee this year. CeeDee's going to eat. We'll see. All right, 2022 first team All ACC selection by College Football Network, credited with 22 tackles, 2 for loss, team high 12 pass breakups, a blocked field goal, and his 12 pass breakups were 1 shy of Clemson's sophomore record, which was 13. So he gets his hand on the ball. Yes, he's sticky. Test him, whatever, but it ain't going to work because 50% of the time they ain't catching it. He only let up 2 touchdowns this year too. So what are your thoughts on him?
703 snaps, leave him on the island, right? You got what, 12, 13 pass breakups. You can target me. I'm going to dominate. This is what I do. That secondary's got some speed. He's got a 4.55, but McComb's like 4.38. So that's a speedy secondary. I just listen. I'm huge on the fact that like this kid can kind of play everywhere. He can play. He's got run stop. He only had 10 run stops, but he can play. Down if you need him to tackle like runners. He's got it all. He's got the hands. He's got the vision. He's got he's length. He can get up in your throat. Like come across the middle. He might not be like that slot cover, but you come across. He's going to make a play. His hip movement, his back pedal. I love it. It's fluid. Another gentleman that can get in and out of breaks, can mirror receivers, and when targeted, like if he loves to step up to the challenge. So give me some Wiggins.
All right, now Will Shipley. You think he'll be a day 1 or day 2 guy?
I think he's day 2.
Okay. I mean, I like the talent, but the way teams, it'll be interesting to see. Let's see go ahead.
Before we talk about him, okay? I get a little excited because I was shout out to Dave Ugalale. Like I love Dave. He's awesome. Right. Okay. And I was really critical of DJ last year. Okay. And I more so of Dabo for not making adjustments. I love Cade Klubnik. I think he's the future over there, and I wanted him earlier. But in the midst of what QB was going to play what, and in the midst of the games where DJ didn't play up to what we thought he could play up to, the only consistency on that offense was Will Shipley. He did it all.
I thought he was great. I mean, 14 games, 210 carries, almost 1,200 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. And he's quick and shifty. And for a guy that's quick and shifty, he surprised you with how powerful he was. He's great at running through contact. I think he's capable of a bigger pass catching role because he's a good hands catcher. Like he just seemed like a coach's son. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like you look at him, I think he does everything right. But I also just think the NFL, like they don't value running backs to the level of like I think somebody's going to get him in the 3rd or 4th, and he's going to be a baller. Like they're gonna, and then they'll play him for 4 or 5 years, and then whatever, But
he's kind of right around that, like can fall anywhere between the 5 to 7 breakdown for this class. You know what I mean? Depending on what he has for a year. He's a little smaller. He's not as muscular, but he gives me Austin Eckler vibes, man. He can run inside the tackles, can run outside the tackles. He's got really, really good hands, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love that.
He had almost 40 receptions, 250 yards. Like like you said, I get it, coach's son type deal because he does everything right. But when nobody else is standing out, he stands out. Like not only can he catch the ball and run inside the tackle, but he got that stop and go capability where he could just cut on a dime and go a different direction. Like his game's odd. He also likes to rock the crazy looking mustache too. So people are going to look at, you know what I mean? Like it's just, he don't get enough credit. And I wasn't a big Shipley guy, but after watching what he could do last year, how he can be a bell cow and put the team on his back, some of those catches that he made, dude, especially in the game, the second game for Klubnik. So I think it was against Tennessee, right? It was Clemson, Tennessee in the bowl game. Klubnik just put one out there. Like, literally just was like, all right, he's running a wheel route. I'm throwing it now. Shipley was like 10, 15 yards away from the ball and just full extension between 2 defenders. Went up and got the ball parallel to the ground. Like, kid has it.
He's a ball player. He's a football player.
And he's a playmaker. So, like, I'm excited to see what he does this year. I think this year could put him in, like I said, could get him out of that, like, 5 to 7. All depends on what everybody else does and who comes back.
Right. I guess I'm saying, like, he's the type of guy that I think the NFL will take for granted, and he'll make somebody look smart. Somebody's going to take him, and he's going to do very well in the NFL.
Yeah, well, because day one running backs is a very oddity, right? Like Bijan, before Bijan, the only other gentleman was like Saquon, right? So like, I get it.
Right.
But at the end of day 2, maybe early of day 3, like I could see that. Like, but and I tend to put a couple guys on here that are early day 3s, but have the chance to possibly pop at the end. Like Saquon goes and Eric Ray doesn't work. This kid's perfect for the Giants, right? Like Miles Sanders only has 1 year in Carolina and doesn't work out. And what I'm hearing, it could, but if it does,
put him with Andy Reid. Like put this
How many
guy
running
with.
backs you going to give Andy Reid?
I don't know.
They hit it with Prince too.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah, but like just we've been waiting for that guy to
and
play
that
the
type
Brian.
of scheme.
Like we've been waiting for somebody with that Brian Westbrook role because I don't think Pacheco's that. I don't think Prince. Like you know what I mean. I think they're good ball carriers, but this guy.
Shipley could be a Sproles type dude. Like he could get you 1,000 yards, but he can also probably give you 600 yards receiving. You know what I mean?
I like it. So now I want to wrap this thing up, but there are 2 more players. I want to see if you got anything on Tyler Davis and Rook or Horhero. I know.
I can give you a little bit on Tyler Davis. All right, I'll give you a little bit on Tyler Davis. 6'2", 300 pounds. All right. He's not the fastest guy. He runs 4.99 40. But what he does he's got 9.5-inch hands. He's got 32 3/8 arms, right? And he got a 34-inch vertical for a guy that's that big. But he got an arm span of close to 80 inches. Like
Space eater.
Yeah, and this is a run stopper. This is kind of like a Vince Wilfork type of dude. Gets in there. You're just going to just put his body on you. Good luck trying to get around him, right? He can get, in the backfield with the pass rush. He normally just penetrates it in a 3 technique. He's physical. He's got a stout build, strong core. He got them. It's not even tree trunk. They're just literally like massive arms. It's like small children. He got small children attached to his shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you want to get in a bear hug match with this guy, you're probably going to lose.
Right.
So give me Davis. But as far as the other gentleman, I didn't really get to dive into too much of Ororoku.
But it's a name to know.
Yes.
It's a name to know. He's on our radar. We're seeing him on lists, and somebody we're probably going to write up over the next few months. But man, ACC loaded with talent this year. It's going to be excellent to see how this division plays out, how this conference plays out between Clemson and Florida State. I am itching for football. I know you are all itching for football. If you stayed here for all 52 minutes to hear us talk about all these prospects. So, man, we appreciate you. This is On the Clock, part of the T2T network. But, Nino, before we wrap this thing up, what's going on at the CFB Nation, and what can everybody find from you over there?
I just finished wrapping up a piece, CFB Prime, talking about Colorado leaving, Pac-12 for the Big 12 or Big 16, whatever you want to call it. Who's to follow? Is it Arizona? Is it UConn? Is PJ Fleck too tough or just too weird? Coach at Minnesota, and the Nebraska.
Weird is in.
I don't know if it's in for him. I'm telling you, I'm talking weird. Like we got the flex bank. You earn coins for doing good things, and it might, be able to wash away if you might have had a bad P test or you did something. Oh yeah,
the bank can pay for that.
The bank can pay for that. Yeah. So it's just a little bit weird. Like
that should stay in house.
You got to clap for him to come in. It's like 6 whistleblowers. So I had to talk about it. Like you got to clap for him before he comes in the room. And if the ovation isn't what he wants, he leaves the room and comes back to a new one. Yeah. So like that might be weird.
Yeah.
As far as like you getting a little bit more leeway for what you do on the field.
Right.
Yeah. That's what programs do.
Right.
You earned it. Right. So, but that's why I just wrapped up. Me and Boom are going to be breaking down. We're going to be breaking down a couple of G5 schools. We just finished Texas Tech. Shout out to Joey McGuire. He's got a program building over there. I think Jared Brandley.
Who's the Texas Tech running back that just got
Roderick Thompson?
Seattle,
shout out to Roderick. Yep, he just got Seattle. Listen, this man is known for being a fill-in. Okay, he filled in at the Senior Bowl when guys got hurt. I think he had a great Senior Bowl. And now Zach Charbonnet looks like he's going to be shelved for a little bit. Kenneth Walker's not doing too hot with injuries, so they bring him in. Listen, don't let him sniff it. Don't let my guy wreck him sniff it. You get carries, he can ball. So, check it out. We'll be breaking down some G5 schools, me and Boomer. And then I got head-to-head coming up right after this. So.
Hell yeah. All right, well, everybody, we appreciate you. ToiletsandTitles.com if you want to support the show, patreon.com/ToiletsandTitles. We will